Hi, this presentation is about document retention, the when, the why, the how, a little bit of the what, and hopefully this can serve as an introduction to this information, and then you can ask individualized questions that apply to your department or your role through a couple different methods that we'll talk about in a bit. So, I am the messenger. I am Liz Brumbaugh, the director of TK through 12 Learning, Innovation, and Design. And Jesse is the director of IT and will also be a great support for you through this process. So the when. Document retention basically is looking at what documents do we need to retain and what documents would be really, really helpful to discard, and the why they would be helpful to discard will come up in a second. So your job is to, at least right now, know that as of the end of January 2022, the IT department is going to start eliminating some of the emails that are over 2 years old. As it applies to online accounts, so Google Drive, O365, network files, those won't start until at earliest summer 2022. So why are we having to do this? So document retention policy is really, really important to have. And there are essentially two purposes. One has to do with making sure that we minimize the liability that each of us have, or each of us pose to the school as a whole. The older documents exist, it's much easier to be able to say, I don't remember or I don't have these documents or these emails anymore, than to have to go and try to find them. From an efficiency standpoint, it also assists in making sure that our storage is lighter and leaner. So the how, the tricky thing about this is that there's no one size fits all. In the various ways that every single person organizes their files and organizes their emails, that's how many different ways that this particular process could go for you. But I want to provide a little bit of guidance. So if we think about emails first, and how are you going to go back and look at emails that are older than 2 years old, and start making choices. The first thing I would do is I would sort by date. And if you don't know how to do that, then you can file a ticket, and we are absolutely here to help you. But you just sort by date and then look at everything prior to January 2020. And depending on your style, some people are just going to mass delete. Some people are just going to not even pay attention to what happened more than 2 years ago and let the system do what it will and delete those emails. If you have been here for any amount of time, and you have received personal emails in your Outlook inbox, then it might serve you well to go into some of those personal emails and forward them to your personal email account. Great example is we have an employee at the lower school whose birth announcement was sent out from Sunshine, not her birth announcement, but her child's birth announcement was celebrated via Sunshine. And that was 14 years ago. So she found it, she was absolutely happy, and she has forwarded it to her personal email. So those kinds of things you might want to keep an eye out. Work emails that you absolutely must keep. So create a folder that is named DND, exactly DND, which stands for Do Not Delete, and take those emails that are older than 2 years old and place them into that folder. I do not suggest taking everything that's 2 years old or older and just dragging and dropping it into that DND folder. Try to do some culling and lightening of the email inbox first. Okay, so for documents then, when we're talking about Google Drive or O365, for your files, you're going to want to, we're just looking at your files in your drive, not shared drives. So in your Google Drive, so I'm talking about Google Drive specifically, there's My Drive and then there's shared drives. We're not talking about shared drives right now. We're just talking about My Drive. And this culling of documents will include documents that have been shared with you, as well as documents that you have shared with others. So if it's in your drive, it's going to be included. When it disappears, if you are not the owner and it was something that was shared with you, it doesn't delete that from somebody else's folder or from the owner's original documents. So we aren't going into other people's documents outside of Harker. It's really just a matter of looking at what is in your drive and lightening that or keeping the liability as low as possible with it. So search for items prior to June 2020. If there's anything curricular, if there's anything that is specific to your job functions, then save those and change the title. A common question that we're getting is, if I change the folder name, if I change the parent folder name, will that permeate down into the files underneath that folder? Unfortunately, the answer is no. It will not. You have to deal with each file individually. So try to delete as much as possible. Okay. Now, related to specifically network files, Jesse is going to provide additional information about this and what you can do with your network files. We are going to be having a training and in January, but you can always send a ticket or submit a ticket, and Jesse can help you then as well. Okay, so this is a sample roadmap for email. So if you are just wanting to wrap your mind around what you can do about email, here's one option. By this Friday, go to your trash in your email and delete everything that's in your trash. See how it feels. See how liberating it can feel. Or if it starts making you a little anxious, then know that too. And know that you're probably going to have to chunk it out in smaller pieces to be able to do it. And then by November 30th, I would sort, delete, and organize about a third of your email inbox, including the subfolders. And then by December 15th, do another third. By January 15th, do the last third. And then by the end of January, you can look back and say, okay, now it's as clean as it's going to be, and whatever I know I need to save that's older than 2 years old, remember, is going into that DND folder that you've created. Okay, so if you want to look at the whole picture, you want to look at emails and files, regardless of whether they are online or they're on your network, same, by Friday, delete your email in your trash, see how it feels. And then by December 15th, handle half of your inbox. And then by January 15th, handle the other half of your inbox. And then by March 15th, Take a look at specifically files from 2019 and 2020. And here's why. This is based on a presumption that things that are more recent are a little more pertinent to what you do. If they were older and you haven't looked at them for 5, 6, 7 years, chances are you're going to care more about the things that are 2 or 3 or 4 years old than you are going to care about the things that are later. And I know that March and April and May, and there's really never any good time for this, but if you can look at, and again, this is just a sample roadmap, so if your schedule and your department's program runs in a way where that's a bad time to be culling information, so be it. And then by May 15th, set an internal goal for yourself that you will have looked at documents and files from 2017 and 2018. And then by June 15th, you're looking at files that are from 2016 and older. So that's 5 years ago plus, and perhaps those are items that you can let go of. Okay, so here's a little bit of preventative FAQs. Why can't we have a 3, 5, 10-year policy? The recommendation was 1 year. So that's something. And the other piece is, over time, we have a higher liability. Why were you telling us to back everything up, and now we're supposed to delete it? Well, kind of like science, we've learned more. And as things evolve, basically technology in educational systems is relatively new. New as in 30, 40 years. And at that point, there was a real need to back things up because there was a fear that if we don't have the digital copies, then we won't be able to do our work moving forward. It's the equivalent of having boxes and boxes and boxes of papers and of documents. So, and now, really the best practice is that with storage being cheaper than it used to be and more secure than it used to be, it's far more feasible to keep your files smaller. So, why do we have to do this now? We are one of the last holdouts to implement a document retention policy, and in our experience across the region and similar schools. And in addition to that, it's much harder to improve our processes, our efficiencies, and to isolate problems when we have as much data that we're holding on to as we are. If you need help, what can you do? Or you just want somebody to walk you through the process that would work for you, you can submit a ticket for Jesse and I to help you. Faculty and administration, and some of you who may have advisories, you may also be, you would have an opportunity in December for during the Lid Vision workshops, but there is going to be, what if you need more guidance or different guidance, on January 11th at 1 o'clock, we are going to be hosting an online training via Zoom, so save the date and more information will be forthcoming about that. So go confront the email, and you can do it. Delete that email by this Friday that's in your trash folder. And thank you again. And if you have any questions, you can file a ticket or you can email Jesse or me. Thank you.